That's like when you asked me that. It's like that time you asked David Fulcher if they won the Super Bowl. Remember that?
I had no clue who the fuck that guy was. I was like,
Fulcher the Vulture.
Yeah, that fucking idiot came in at GameStop one time, and he's like, "Hey man, what's up?" And I was like, "Hey, what do you need?" And like, well, I didn't say that. I was like, "What the fuck do you need?"
What do you need?
I like helped him out, and then he was just like,
good customer service.
He's like, I'm Fulcher the Vulture, and I was like, okay, I don't know who the fuck that is. I'm sure if anybody else had been working there, they would have been like, holy shit. But who is this guy?
But that makes him an idiot.
It is. Or it does, not it is.
Yo, G.
Well,
you hear me now?
The 1998 Curian case, it was fucking Goldman. What are you up to?
What?
You remember that from House of the Dead?
No.
Well, guys, Matt didn't know.
House of the Dead?
Yeah, the second one, the game. The
game.
The game.
Yeah, I don't remember.
The game. You're like, it's time to play the game. Triple H comes out and sledgehammers everybody's dicks.
Turn into Snake Plissken.
Game. He's like, call me Triple H. It's like, at the end of the movie, he's like, okay, Triple H. He's like, call me fucking Hunter or Selmsley. I'm like, okay. Why'd you like switch what you wanted to be called at the end? A mini level reference that I'm sure nobody gives a fuck about. So we're going into a 8-team lead up to the Super Bowl here with the Bengals going against the Titans this week.
Are we live?
So, yeah, we are. We've been live for a while.
Oh, nice.
So
making sure.
Yeah, true. So, god damn it! It's like when somebody's like, "Did you leave the oven on?" I gotta. It's like when somebody's like, "Did you leave the oven on?" I gotta. Okay. I gotta make
yeah,
sure. Yeah. I'm like apple crisp. So, Super Bowl LVI.
Let's take it one game at a time. Just one game at a time.
As opposed to them playing every team at once.
That'd be awesome.
Bengals versus...
Like, this is extreme.
How many teams? 2, 4, 6, 8, 11? Be like, they get fucking munched in the first act. It's all backwards. What's with that? Cool.
Last time they won a playoff game, we were in Miss Slusser's class.
We were in it.
We were.
Yeah.
3rd grade.
How far did they go?
They only won one game, and they lost the second playoff game.
Okay. So, hopes are high.
That's like when you asked me that. It's like that time you asked David Fulcher if they won the Super Bowl. Remember that?
I had no clue who the fuck that guy was. I was like,
Fulcher the Vulture.
Yeah, that fucking idiot came in at GameStop one time, and he's like, "Hey man, what's up?" And I was like, "Hey, what do you need?" And like, I didn't say that. I was like, "What the fuck do you need?"
What do you need?
I like helped him out, and then he was just like,
good customer service.
He's like, I'm Fulcher the Vulture, and I was like, okay, I don't know who the fuck that is. I'm sure if anybody else had been working there, they would have been like, holy shit. But who is this guy?
But that makes him an idiot.
It is. Or it does, not it is.
Like, who are you? I'm pissed. That's what I am.
So who is Fulcher the Vulture?
He's a safety for the Bengals and played in the Super Bowl.
There you go.
There you go.
I was probably not alive when he was fucking playing.
You were.
I thought you said they didn't make it to the Super Bowl when we were
Not the last playoff game they won.
Oh,
a few years before that they made it.
Okay. So I was like a fucking infant.
Yeah.
I was like, I remember when Fulcher the Vulture was fucking in the playoffs and he was in the Super Bowl. Fucking I loved it as a fucking wee lad shitting my drawers on a daily basis. That's when I truly said, Mama. So, we got the
Your famous catchphrase.
Yeah, it's true. We got the preamble out of the way. Unless you have anything else to say on this Super Bowl fiasco.
Oh, let's forge ahead.
Let's forge ahead, like hopefully the Bengals will this weekend, November 24th.
Coming November 24th.
So shout out to Fulcher the Vulture, but he ain't got nothing on Nerd News. I'm like, come to my level, you jock. So what do you have for the Nerd News this week?
You're like, nerds rule and jocks drool.
He's like, I am a fucking vulture, and he like flies out the window. I'm like, damn, he's an animal. Dude, holy shit.
What?
They should cast him as like a reboot of Animal. But he can only
because he already is a vulture.
He just transforms into vultures and that's it. But anyway, go ahead.
Our nerd news for this week is there's going to be a Weird Al biopic movie.
Oh yeah, I saw that. It's legit.
Starring Daniel Radcliffe as Weird Al.
Yeah, it's just like
the Swiss Army Man.
He's finally made it. Harry Potter is finally doing something worthy of its time. No, I mean, I think that's legit as hell because it's like everybody pretty much that's in the know is like, you know, Weird Al has transcended from being like a parody songwriter to like everybody sees him as like an actual like artist, and this just goes to show, you know, there's nothing better than Weird Al.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be good, but like we love Weird Al. We love Weird Al.
Don't we love Weird Al, baby?
But he's not like a lot of other musicians who are like bad boys or party all the time. He's like a very like normal family man. So, but I'm sure it'll be interesting
the
to
only
like
thing
learn
I know
about
about
more of his career and
his
stuff.
like life is that his like parents died, which was like a huge blow to him and stuff. But like, it wasn't like they got like killed or anything. You know, they like you know, it wasn't like a hellacious murder or something. You know. I don't know why I said hellacious, but you know what I mean. It wasn't like you said. Like it's like he's pretty humble too. So it's like But I think
anything Weird Al is gold.
I think it'll be nice to see like anything more behind the scenes on his process of making like parodies and like how he came to be the superstar that he is today.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because I also saw they're doing a Kevin Smith one as well, just called Clerk.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it's like I think it's actually out right now. So.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that might be a one of us might review that at some point on the podcast. We'll see, or maybe we won't. You decide. Or I guess we would decide.
Actually, they have no way of deciding.
That's true. You can't stop me," said the Jack the Ripper. The Jack the Ripper. So I don't know why that's funny. It's not. He killed. So George Lucas has considered, or he considered showing Boba Fett surviving the Sarlacc pit in his Return of the Jedi special edition back in the day. Did you hear about this? You hear about this?
Oh, no. You hear about this?
But like to me, it's
no,
like
I didn't hear that.
I feel like that was already done in the books, and then it was also one of those things where it was like, I mean, it's easy to come out and say that now when they did it in the fucking movie or like in the show, so it's like, you know, like,
he's like, I was gonna do that.
Yeah, I was gonna do that. I'm like, okay. Here's a random factoid. So there was a dude coming up in WWE, and they brought him to like the main roster from their developmental, and they filed a patent or trademark for his name, Gunther Stark. There was one major issue though. That was the name of a Nazi U-boat commander in 1944. That was like a huge fucking guy. It's like, really? You couldn't have just Googled that?
Yeah.
But yeah. And
no name will ever top Puke.
He's gonna.
Yeah.
Dude, that fucking documentary is so fucked up. It's like
truly disturbing.
Yeah, it's like he's just like, you see like all this shit happen behind the scenes, and it was just like the perfect set of circumstances, like for those people to like capture all that shit. It's like they would never let people do that nowadays.
For real.
And then like my last bit of news here is that William Dafoe was pitching an idea to play like a Joker.
Yeah, I saw that.
And I was like, didn't you already do that in fucking Spider-Man? That's the Green Goblin. But I would love anything with Willem Dafoe. I'm fine with like whatever the fuck he wants to do. Yeah, so I'm not gonna really mention anything else because there's a lot of news happened recently, like the Lord of the Rings show, you know. But like, we've only got so much time. So.
So true, so true.
So true. Don't true me down. So, yeah. Anything else for this segment?
No. On to the next.
No. You're like, is this real? Okay. Next segment.
It's time for recommendation nation.
That was probably the best one yet, honestly. You sound like you're being like torn apart. Hey, Dad! Did you say they all suck?
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay, so what do you recommend to the nation?
I would like to recommend this week a movie that we are both big fans of. Grew up watching.
Mm-hmm.
A movie. From 1963 called It's a Mad, 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 Mad World.
That movie.
For anyone who hasn't seen this, it's highly recommended. It's an awesome movie, basically.
Yeah.
It's like a comedy action movie about like a bunch of groups of people find out there's buried treasure and like they all scramble to be the first to find it.
Yeah.
And it's got like tons of legendary comedians in it. Like even the Three Stooges show up at one point.
Yeah, it's fucking
I think it was their final
awesome.
appearance. It's hilarious and it's an awesome action movie. Like there's tons of cool stunts and like all kinds of different like vehicles. It's kind of like Diddy Kong Racing. Car versus plane. Plane versus boat.
The thing that reminds me most about that is when they did the chase scene in Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Yeah.
Where like Godzilla and all that stuff like attached to that shit, and I was just like, what the hell? But also that like 10 or so years ago they did like a remake spiritually, like Rat Race. You remember that movie?
Rat Race.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
it wasn't bad.
Yeah, no, I was just saying, I remember they did that with, like, a bunch of people, like, some of them were famous and some of them weren't as famous. Like, they had, like, John Lovitz, and, like, the last thing I can remember him actually kind of being a star in, and he had his family, and, like, he had his daughter poop out the side of her car because he didn't want to stop. And they were driving Hitler's car around or whatever at one point, and I was like, dude, this... And he, like, I think that was the movie where he, like, burns his mouth so he can't, like, speak, and like has a smudge on his face so it looks like he's Hitler, and he's like, ah! Like, and everybody's like, oh my god. But yeah, it's like that's the kind of like, it's like, yeah, the movie, like the original is like a classic. Like if you haven't
Peter
seen
Falk's
this,
in it.
Yeah,
Don Knotts, Buster Keaton. I forgot he was in it. Like there's just every like legendary comedian of the time was in this movie.
Right. Yeah,
and it's great. And get this, it's 3.5 hours long.
I do remember, like, when I first saw it as a kid, being like, Jesus Christ, this movie is, like, longer than hell.
Yeah.
I'm like this movie's
I'm sure it had an intermission and stuff.
Yeah.
Old-fashioned.
They just pulled the corpses out of the people that were still in theaters. Milton Berle.
Yep, Uncle Milty.
He's like... What's that one series of movies he was in? Like God or whatever, like where he plays.
Oh God?
Like, yeah, like he plays like God or whatever.
That was George Burns, wasn't it?
Was it?
I think so. I'll have to ask Greg.
Yeah,
Turkington.
maybe you're right on that one. Yeah, it was. Never mind. I get those guys mixed up, probably because they're like
Old comedians.
Yeah. They're old white guys.
Yeah.
I'm like, they look the same. Yeah, there's a ton of Sid Caesar. Holy shit. Fucking
Jimmy Durante.
Yeah. Damn, dude. I forgot like how many.
Jonathan Winters.
Yeah.
Buddy Hackett. I mean, it's
Buddy Hackett. He could hack it because he got into the film industry. Yeah, great film. Definitely give it a watch if you got 3 hours to spare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you got?
What do you got? So this week I'd like to recommend a movie that your boy Ebert actually liked back in the day, which was like one of the first animated films besides like the Studio Ghibli films. I remember him saying like he liked, from what I remember. But Batman: Mask of the Phantasm. It was like,
oh yeah,
pretty much like when the animated series was kind of like at its peak. This came out in theaters, and it's like kind of a prequel and like also a modern day, like, you know, while the show's going on. But like the coolest thing about it was that it was like kind of shows like Batman when he's first starting out, but like it doesn't spend the whole movie there, but like he like has to face down like a mysterious vigilante that's like essentially like Batman, but he's like killing the crime bosses instead of like capturing them and taking them to jail. So that, and I remember the animation being really good, and like the Joker's in it, which is always awesome, and it has all the voice actors from the show, and
Mark Hamill, right?
Yeah, based on the awesome animated film, which was based on the awesome Tim Burton, Michael Keaton films. So
yeah, that movie is rad.
Always a classic. I agree. In fact, I would say that it's fucking bat-tastic. Not a word, but it's great. Yeah. I just randomly thought of it because I remember that they came out with this, and then years later they tried to do like another one, but it went straight to video. It was like Mr. Freeze, and it was like he had 2 polar bears in it, and I was like, okay, this is not as good, but anyway, yeah.
Cool. That's a good one, man.
Cool.
Saw that in theaters back in the day.
Yeah, I sadly didn't get a chance to see it in theaters, but I can only imagine it would have been fucking awesome. I can only imagine. So, are you ready?
Yeah.
Weird. Oh, shit, I didn't change the fucking thing. God damn it, dude.
Start over.
It's still Yellowstone. Well, it looks like we're going to review Yellowstone again, Matt. What do you have to say about Yellowstone
here we go.
again?
Like, here we go. Here we go. Here we go.
Yeah, it's like, when? So, this week, we're not talking about Yellowstone again. I fucked up.
This watch is truly weird.
I fucked up because I did it anyway.
Weird watches.
Weird watches. It's like, okay. So yeah, this week we're talking about Peacemaker, which is kind of weird to talk about this before we talk about Suicide Squad, because Suicide Squad takes place before this fucking, and this is like a direct like thing. But I guess we're just gonna say spoilers now, like spoilers for both Suicide Squad and Peacemaker. So if you don't want any spoilers, leave now. But if you don't care, then yeah,
anyway,
yeah, we're gonna talk about it. But we're gonna be talking about the fate of John Cena's character in Suicide Squad, which he lives. Which they don't make it seem like that until...
Oh, a character lived in a comic book movie? Imagine that. Can't believe it.
Even though like a shit ton of them don't in fucking, what's it called? Suicide Squad. So, yeah. We are talking about Peacemaker, and this was developed for HBO, specifically HBO Max by James Gunn, based on the DC Comics character Peacemaker. And it's the first DC Extended Universe television series and a spinoff of, like we said, the Suicide Squad. So, yeah, what'd you think about this? first episode?
So I'll start with the positive. The opening credits sequence was one of the best things I've ever seen in my life. I loved it so much.
Yeah, I was gonna say this makes this like the best weird watches like we've ever watched, just because that opening was like
I could watch that over and over again. It was so funny and awesome. Like,
yeah,
there were like weird dance moves. Like, it was so stupid, but yet awesome at the same time.
yeah, with his dad,
I loved
fucking what's his face,
Robert Patrick.
Yeah, Robert Patrick, in there doing some weird thing where he like goes like that while he's humping, like with his fingers. Which I mean, it's funny because like it's even funnier after you watch the first episode, because like none of these characters would like ever do this, so that's what makes it even more funny. Is like you watch like his dad in the show is like a complete like right wing, like, you know, he walks into the thing and he's like, his dad's watching like Alex Jones or whatever on TV, and like he's completely like a racist too, like his dad is. And I'm sure it's kind of rubbed off on like Cena, or like not Cena, but like, you know, but like in the beginning, like in the intro, he's like doing some fucking wacky like dance, like everybody is, and
the song it ruled.
Yeah, it was legit.
It was I loved it.
Yeah, I did too. I was like, because when I first started like watching it, I was like, okay, you know, like, because I watched it after I watched Suicide Squad, and I was like, okay, well, I don't really know anything about this show, you know, so like started it up, and fucking and like after that, when that started, I was like, what the fuck is going on right now? Cena starts dancing, and then other people come out and start dancing, and it's like literally every character that's like a main character, from what I could
see. The move where like they stick their arms out to the side but like bend their elbows.
Yeah, they look like fucking Donkey Kongs or some shit.
Oh man.
Yeah, I was cracking the fuck up like watching it, but it was also like so cool that it's like, dude, I kind of want to watch this like multiple times.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, it's like,
it was great.
But it was just so, I don't know, it was so awesome to watch. Like as far as that goes. Let me see here. What did I have as far as I guess, what did you have any other like what else were your like positives? Cause
well, that's pretty much my only positive, because I thought the show was awful.
Really?
Yeah, I got like real Ghostbusters 2016 vibes from it, with like everyone trying to be funny and failing. Like I was embarrassed watching it. I thought it was really, really bad.
Wow, I thought it was way better than anything else we've watched. Like weird
really?
Watches. Yeah, I thought it was actually really good.
I thought like that style of humor where it's just like you can tell they're just ad-libbing and trying to be funny. It did not work for me at all. And it made me like cringe to watch the show.
I think that's what they like to call writing, Matt.
Well, that's the opposite of writing, because they make it up on the set. It's the laziest style of comedy.
Nah, I thought it was good. Personally,
I'm glad you did.
Thank you.
I'm glad.
I watched it anyway.
You liked it anyway.
I didn't get vibes like that at all from this. Like, especially coming off of Suicide Squad. Like, I felt it was like the same, like the same type of, and not to say that like everything landed, but there was like definitely stuff about it that I thought was
like
funny.
The first scene between him and the janitor when they're like riffing. I was like, I don't know if I can watch this. This is so horrible. Like, it's just lazy, I thought.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't really agree on that at all, but I thought it was like actually really good. I wouldn't say that like I said, everything lands, like every joke, but I never felt that it was just like a bad SNL skit or anything.
That's exactly what it felt like to me. I was like, did the writers of SNL work on this? That's not a compliment.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I can't say anything.
I
really.
could be wrong. That's just the way. Like,
yeah,
that's my take.
Well, yeah, I don't know what else to say about it other than I liked it. I didn't think you would like any of this because it's superhero stuff, so you were probably gonna think it sucked right off the bat. So
I tried. I'm sure it's my fault, but
no, it's. I mean, if you have an opinion, it's not your fault.
I didn't want to hate it. I just did.
Yeah. I thought it was like, I don't know, how would you like rate this as far as like other things we've seen as far as in the same vein with like superhero stuff? Did you just feel it was like the same thing, or did you feel it was any better or worse, or?
No, I felt it was worse. I felt it was like, a bad SNL sketch. But I mean, a lot of the other stuff we watched is just straight up boring.
Yeah.
And so like I didn't feel one way or another about it. Where this, I was like, it was making me
you
upset.
were like offended.
Yeah. So that's something.
Yeah.
I like John Cena. I mean, I think he can be funny.
Right. I felt like this was like it really depended on how you liked Suicide Squad. Like, did you?
Mm-hmm.
I guess it really depends on when we get into that. Maybe we should like come back to this and just talk about fucking Suicide Squad right now.
That's cool.
Because I feel like this show is very dependent on how you felt about, like regardless,
Mm-hmm.
So I guess we'll just go to the Suicide Squad. So we'll talk about this and then we can maybe circle back to this. But so like they originally did the Suicide Squad, or they did Suicide Squad in 2016, and it was like a total abortion. And then James Gunn, they hired him because they saw he was able to like get big numbers and praise doing like Guardians of the Galaxy, and so he came on board and pretty much made the Suicide Squad, which is like essentially takes some of the characters from the original but makes it kind of like its own thing. But it's essentially the same thing. They put fucking bombs in your head. It's the same shit they did in like Escape from New York. You have to do something, and if you don't like do it, you're gonna get fucking killed. But if you do it, they'll like take years off your prison sentence or let you go or whatever, depending. But like, I mean, the movie had like a pretty big cast as far as like, I mean, just not only like in terms of how many people were in it, but like also like, it had some big names. Like Idris Elba was like one of the main guys. John Cena, Sylvester Stallone voiced the character. Margot Robbie returned as Harley Quinn, and then they had like Michael Rooker playing like a 5-second part in this movie. And then they like snuck in like Pete Davidson for 5 seconds as well. So yeah, this movie definitely has like the what's it called? I feel like James Gunn. What's it called? Like musical feel. Like as far as everybody, you definitely music is a part of the film. It's not just like here and there. I mean, because the movie starts off like through the credits with Johnny Cash and stuff, and then they do that all the time in the film. They don't play Johnny Cash, but it's like it's like a compliment to the film instead of like a lot of films would just have.
A lot of the music is like ironic music, like it's used ironically. So you have like scenes of horrible killing, against a like pop song from the 70s.
Right. Or like when all the people were like dead essentially, except for a couple people, it'll play that one song, These Are the People That Died, or whatever the fuck it's called. You know what I'm talking about, right? Where they like crossing people off, and essentially they have like a Deadpool as well in this, where like when the people like go and they get killed, they're like taking bets on who's gonna live and who's gonna die, and people are like paying up, and these are like these aren't like people betting on it. It's like they are betting on it, but they're people that like work at this place that like gives out the like sends these people off to like do this stuff. So like go on these missions. So I was trying to find that song, but I can't remember I can't find the thing for it. It's this is called People Who Die by the Jim Carroll Band. It's like punky kind of. So I don't know. You've probably heard of it before. But anyway,
Yeah, in the first Suicide Squad, that was a big complaint. Is like the
Mm-hmm.
use of songs was like super lame, and like they picked the most generic and obvious songs. But
It was
that was
really
better
weird
in this
too.
one.
I feel like, yeah, I felt it was really.
Even though when it started with Folsom Prison Blues, I was like, well, never heard this before on a prison scene, like real original. But that was pretty much the only egregious choice I thought.
Yeah. So what did you? I guess do you have any? I don't know.
My
Thoughts on
my
this?
general thoughts. I mean, I didn't like it, but I these movies aren't for me. Like I got my fill, and every time I watch one, it just seems like more of the same to me. But there's things to like about it for sure.
Yeah.
I'll try not
Uh,
to be negative Nelly.
no, you're fine. You can say whatever you want. One part of
It
part
doesn't
of the
deliver,
podcast.
what I want in
Mm-hmm.
movies. Like the humor for the most part is pretty lame. I think. Like I laughed once when they said the weasel killed 37 children or something. I thought that
Oh
was
yeah.
hilarious. The weasel was my favorite character, by the way. Um, and the action is like, you know, like CGI, a lot of CGI. Um, there were some practical effects, but it's like an animated film, which that's fine, but it doesn't do much for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that.
I appreciated how violent this movie was. Like it's
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
one of the most
it's an
violent movies I've ever
R-rated
seen.
film, so it
Yeah,
definitely
like it's a gore fest. It's like a slasher horror movie almost,
yeah.
which was I thought was cool. What do you think?
I mean, I thought it was pretty good, but I mean, I think that's pretty apparent. We have completely different like takes on this so far.
Yeah,
I don't know if we've ever been farther apart on a film before, honestly, or like both the weird watches, because like I think, but it's only because like originally we were gonna do what was it, Justified, and then I was like, well, why don't we just do Peacemaker, because I haven't watched it yet, and it like ties into this, into the whole like Suicide Squad thing, so it worked out perfectly as far as like, you know, it being, I guess it was kind
hmm
of a John Cena fest here. Um, but yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. I generally am not like somebody that's like totally down with like, I guess, like I know what you mean. Like, as far as like comedy and stuff like that, like it can be really like, but it's also kind of like, I mean, all that stuff's definitely subjective. So it's like one person thinks it's like
yeah, for
funny as
sure.
hell, and the next person thinks it's like stupid. So it's like, for me, like I found all like not all of it. I mean, my most like egregious parts of this film was when they finally got like Harley Quinn back into the fold, and she was just like annoying. I felt like I liked all the characters' interactions, and then she kind of came back and was just playing the crazy character, and it was just
hmm
and it was like, but like, and also like the ending was like, I felt like they had a kind of a different thing going as far as like the way that they, you know, the characters were interacting, and it was less of like a superhero movie for the most part, which was nice, and it was kind of like more of like a Operations Rambo kind of deal. But then at the end, they had to like stuff in the big boss fight at the end,
Yeah,
and to me, it's like it just didn't fit with the rest of the movie. I would have liked to have actually seen like they couldn't do it, and like Superman comes and just destroys it instantly, like, you know what I mean, and it just shows that they weren't really, like, yeah. It also, I think, would have like fit with the comedy of it, because there are so many times when like somebody would be doing something and then they would just get munched, and it was like, okay, well, this guy's
yep,
dead.
yep.
So like, and like nobody was really, well, I would say nobody's safe, but I'm pretty sure, like, that I was like, Idris Elba's not gonna die, and they're not gonna kill off Harley Quinn in this film. But I liked Idris Elba's character, like he was cool. I do like, there was parts in this film like when they're in like that bus and everybody's giving their exposition. I was like, This is like classic in a movie where somebody is like, I have to tell you my backstory kind of shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like, should be a deleted scene.
Right. And
Like,
it's
this
like...
movie's over 2 hours long, get rid of it. And the tone always gets, like, real serious for some
right.
reason.
And that's, like, something that I definitely was not a fan of, because, like, the rest of this film is not like that at all. And, like,
right.
They do that in like almost every film I've seen. There's at least one point where I'm like, dude, this should either come naturally or this should just not be in the film. Like,
yep.
I don't need to
I
see
agree.
this shit. Because I remember they did it, I think, in Guardians at one point, and I was like, but that's not just like a James Gunn thing. That's like everybody does that. Not everybody, but a lot of like filmmakers will do that.
Yeah, at the beginning, there's a scene with Idris Elba and Viola Davis where they're acting like their guts out and like going for Oscars, and like the most serious scene I've ever seen, where like he's talking about his daughter and stuff, and I'm like, is this the same like goofy movie that I was just watching? Like, what? They're in a different movie all of a sudden.
It's like as soon as like they start talking about his daughter, he goes like fucking ape shit, which I guess I think it would have like made more sense if like he hadn't just treated her like absolute shit when she came to visit him.
Yeah.
But that was kind of a what the fuck. I really liked seeing like King Shark in the film, because he's a character that I really like to see just in general whenever he shows up and stuff. But like so it was nice to see him, and he's essentially like invincible. So he's a cool character.
He's a cool character. He was like a Drax light.
Yeah, he's
like a step
he's
down
definitely
from Drax.
like, they made him more of like a family friendly character, even though he kills people. But like in the fucking other, he's generally more vicious and stuff. And this one, he's kind of just like an idiot.
Speaking of that, my example of like the humor that I thought was horrible was when he was like, "I'm gonna wear a disguise, a fake mustache," and I'm like, my 4-year-old nephew like watches like Mickey Mouse adventure shows, and like that's a joke from that. like, I don't get it. Again, like you said, it's subjective.
So. Right. We've got a real Siskel and Ebert on our hands here. Me and you on this one. We're like completely far apart on the polls. But that's totally fine, because it's one of those things where like...
That's what buddies do.
Yeah. They shit on each other's fucking
They're the buddies,
lives.
they're the boys.
Pass me the fucking film. Looking through my notes here real quick.
Or like when the polka dot man first uses his power.
Yeah.
And then they're like, he does throw polka dots. I'm like, I know, that's the joke. You don't have to explain it right afterwards. Like, that's the kind of stuff that bothered me.
Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't like as critical on this film for whatever reason. I know sometimes I am, but I don't know if it was just like Idris Elba and like Cena's characters like got me, like, and the tone was set that I was like, okay, I'm fine for this. But there, like, anytime it was like Harley Quinn, I was like, okay, this sucks. Anytime it was like super serious, like as far as like you were saying, I was kind of like, eh. And then when they like did the whole like, well, like a lot of it was like pretty good as far as like,
I think let's agree that the scene where like they lay waste to that camp and they're like competing to get the most creative kill, like, the most skillful kill was hilarious and awesome.
Oh yeah, for sure. And he like, there's just, well, that's the thing, is like,
it was very demented.
Yeah. I think there was one cool scene with like Harley Quinn, but it was like when she was escaping and she kills like 80 people, but it was just like, even that I was like, I wasn't like, this, it makes the movie for me. I was like, okay, she just killed a shit ton of people with guns, like dual M16s, Goldeneye style, and like a bunch of other shit. It was just like, I don't know.
Yeah, I was like, okay, this is kind of, I've seen this kind of thing before, but then when there were like animated Tweety birds coming, like flying around, I thought that was kind of cool. A cool touch.
Like when she was like shooting and like flowers and other things were coming out of the people.
That was cool.
I think like if they had maybe done that the whole time when she was like escaping, it would have made it better. But they only did it towards that end, and I was like, ugh. Like it went from like a generic action scene that could have been any character in any movie to something that was actually stylized.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
There was some pretty legit shit with when he rips the dude apart, like Jesus or whatever. Or I mean King Shark, not Jesus. I had my note backwards. Jesus rips a guy
easy
apart.
To get him confused.
King Shark. Also, like, I don't know if you noticed this, but at 59 minutes and 7 seconds, John Cena pushes Lloyd Kaufman out of the way when they go in the bar.
No,
yeah.
I did not notice that.
Because
That's
him
awesome.
and James Gunn are, friends, so, like, he put him in the film.
Oh, he got to start at Troma Films.
And I was like, dude, this is legit.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, I was cracking the fuck up. They do bring up, like, Dim Mak, the death touch, how that's, like, bullshit, which I thought was kind of a random thing to bring up, but, like, when they're all three of the, like, I guess, like, you would say combat experts are locked up, like Cena, Idris Elba, and, like, the other dude from the first mission, they talk about, like, the Dim Mak death touch, that, like, they used to talk about, like, oh, you fucking touch somebody in one spot and they'll die instantly. And then, like, they say it's like, that's what amateurs talk about. And I was just like, that's such a weird thing to talk about in a movie, like, that's for, like, the Dim Mak touch, because it's like, nobody really knows what the fuck that is anymore. It's not like kung fu films are a huge deal, and it's not like, I feel like the age of, like, pseudoscience, bullshit martial arts is kind of over. So I was kind of like,
but then they use it.
But
they kill their captor.
Well,
but they did it anyway.
They just like knock them out, and then they gun the fuck out of everybody. I did have like a question of like why Cena like decided to like kill the guy driving the car, because then they just flip over and it's like they could have died. It's like, why didn't you just like make another?
But for all my complaining about CGI, like that was an actual stunt, which I appreciated. Like they rolled that car down that hill. It's pretty cool.
Like, I appreciate this, even if it's a bad movie.
I didn't say it was a bad movie.
Oh,
shit. Not say that.
Oh, crap.
I
guess we'll see what you're like, I didn't like it. 9.9.
Let me ask this, because this was my this will be my last complaint, I promise. But like, the premise of the Suicide Squad is it's teaming up all the villains, right, to go on a mission. But like,
yeah, like
is that true?
Well, it's essentially like they're like, it's kind of like they have stuff that they want to like get done, but they're not gonna like use regular people that anybody gives a fuck about. So they're gonna use a villain that no one's gonna give a fuck about if they die or live.
Mm-hmm.
So like essentially, yeah, like I guess they're all like on the premise of like, if you don't do this shit, we're gonna blow your head up, and like if you do live and stuff, we'll take years off your sentence. Which I don't really know if that's a super great idea, but.
But like, these characters, they weren't villainous in any way, and it's the same in the first Suicide Squad. Like they were all just superheroes. So like I that's what I didn't understand.
Well, I mean, all the characters that are in like jail are like they are villains, but I think it's like whether or not like they did something horrible, or you know what I mean, like. It's kind of like there's a big difference between like it seems like they don't really give a fuck about what they did, because you got somebody like Weasel that killed a shit ton of kids, and then you've got somebody
he was a villain. He was definitely a villain.
But then you've got somebody
none of
like,
the other ones
like Bloodsport that like shot Superman with a kryptonite bullet and put him in the hospital, which is a fucked up thing. But like he didn't kill a fuck ton of people. But I think like that got a bigger thing because it was Superman. But like they never really talk about like what these other people did. But like Harley Quinn is like a known person to hang out with Joker, so essentially she's going to jail regardless. But yeah, they don't really say. I do know that Polka Dot Man is like a bad guy for like one of the characters, and then like King Shark is like a guy for like Batman and like the Flash, because he just eats people and shit like that. So that's not good. But yeah, I don't really know too much about some of the other people. Like,
I was thinking about that show, The Boys,
mm-hmm.
because it's pretty much the exact same premise,
Mm-hmm.
but in that character, like, the superheroes are truly evil and like do horrific stuff like all the time. And to me, that's what I would expect from the Suicide Squad, but they're heroes, and it's like every other superhero movie. So I don't know.
I think
it's another nitpick.
I think it's if it was one of those things where they had a choice in the matter, it might have been different. But like, it's either like you do what that lady says or you're gonna die. So it's like, I guess, is it really worth like going and trying to kill some people and doing some other horrendous shit just for the 5 seconds that like you would have before she like blows your head up? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it's also like they had like something like that in the first one where like a dude tried to escape and they like blew his head off, but they also did the same thing to like what's his name, Michael Rooker, in this, but it was because he was like scared. So he tried to like get away, but like
didn't want to get killed.
To me, that's more so like a fear and like escape thing. It's not because like people were doing something horrible, you know what I mean? I do think it is kind of weird that like, I guess it really depends. Like, I don't think these guys weren't like straight up like you were saying, they weren't like the most evil of the most evil, it seemed like, because they could be rationed with and been, because like if you had a character like the Joker, you couldn't put a bomb in his head and say fucking go do good, because he would rather get his head blown off and like kill a bunch of people and fuck up Batman than like, you know what I mean? Like, I think there wasn't really like somebody that was like pulling against everyone else. Like King Shark was at the beginning, but then that lady was like, let's be friends, and he was like, okay. It's like, okay. I'm trying to think, like, 'cause that's the thing too, is like, that is one of the issues with something like this, is like a lot of people, unless you're like I'm a big DC fan, but I don't really know most of these characters. Like, I know like King Shark, and I'd heard of Bloodsport, and I know Harley Quinn, but like I had no fucking clue who Peacemaker was, and it's like, you know, I don't know what their backstories are, so it's like why are they?
I'm sure that would like, if knowing about them from the comics would like enrich watching the movie, because like I know nothing about any of these characters, so all I can go off of is like what's
right. Yeah, I mean, that's why it like you like are in a unique perspective for that, because you're able to like look at it just as someone watching a movie, instead of somebody that's going in with like predetermined notions like, oh cool, it's this character, that character, they're finally on the big screen, this is awesome. But like, if you don't know these characters, you're literally the whatever time they have on the big, like in the movie, is what you're gonna get as far as development, because you're not gonna like, unless you really like something, you're not gonna go out of your way and be like, I'm gonna go see what this character's about, like, so
so you said you didn't like the ending with the giant starfish, or it didn't fit in with the rest of the movie?
Parts of it did, but it was also kind of like, I felt like it was something that they just kind of tacked on and were like, we have to have a big boss fight, because this is essentially a superhero movie, even though to me, like, it would have been better off if they hadn't done that, because it would have put it even further apart from superhero, just stuff, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like,
I hear you. But I think I'm glad that they did that, because like their actual mission like was not compelling at all. Like, there's, once again, in these movies, they've never had a really good villain.
Yeah.
Like,
well, it's also like
this was like Expendables, like generic.
Well, it's also like, who is your villain gonna be for a team of super villains? Are they gonna have like a superhero, like
I don't know,
go rogue or something? They actually have like a game coming out called like the Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League, and it's what's his name? The dude that like comes from planet to planet and he like takes over stuff. Like Brainiac, he like hypnotizes or like brainwashes the Justice League, so like they have to fucking stop the Justice League. So like they have to kill like Superman and like all these other characters, and it's like that kind of would have been interesting to see, like, what if one of the Justice League members had been like compromised, you know what I mean, or something like that, and they literally had to, like, their end thing was to actually stop or kill, like, you know, Aquaman or fucking Batman or like something like that. You know what I mean? It would have been something different, at least. I mean, at least it would have been like, because like I also like was kind of like, I don't really think that like it was a bad idea to have this character be in the movie. Like, I wasn't like, oh, this is stupid, like, you know, because I like the whole, like, you know, Starro, like, you know, they bring this thing back to Earth, like extraterrestrial and stuff, because they have Superman and all these other extraterrestrials in the DC universe. But like, why, like as soon as they found out that shit was loose, like, Superman would have been there instantly. Like, you know what I mean? Like I think that would have made more sense to me, is if they would have had a thing like where at the end they just couldn't, like, they were trying, but they couldn't do it because they were like, because they kind of had that, they kind of went for it, but then they like did the generic superhero overcome everything, and like all these rats killed it, and I was like, okay, dude, like, this is kind of like bullshit.
The whole thing with the rats like climbing all over it, and when they penetrate the eyeball and like start eating the inside, that was truly disgusting. Which was pretty cool.
It was.
That was very.
It was. It
was gross.
Yeah, it's gross.
Yeah, that is gross. Like, James Gunn, I think, is really good at like coming up with like disgusting ideas.
Yeah, I mean, like, I like the visual of it. I just thought it was very like, I don't know, like formulaic. Like, oh, we're gonna get fucked here. Well, now we have to. Okay, well then,
totally.
I'm just gonna do this, and then all these, like, you know, it would have been way cooler, in my opinion, if like they tried their hardest, but like they couldn't get it done. So then, like, you know, just randomly a superhero shows up and like destroys it or something, like Superman or Green Lantern or something. Not that I wanted to see the character in or whatever, but like then they could just be like, fuck, you know, like, but at least they tried, and it's like, and I don't know, like, they had to have that, like, these characters got over moment, and I was like, I feel like they already got over by like surviving and doing their mission, you know what I mean? Like, like them trying and doing all this stuff was icing on the cake, but even if they hadn't done it, it would have at least felt like, you know, something different, instead of like, you know, hey, I'm gonna do something I've never done before and call every single rat in the entire island to this fucking one spot, and then Harley Quinn's gonna jump like 30 feet with a fucking pole she got from someone at the beginning of the movie and like pierce its eye. I'm like, also, like, if that thing's that powerful that it can like throw out these things and hypnotize all these people, like, to me, like, there's
got a glaring weakness.
No way. Like, come on. It's also like the very first character that like the Justice League ever faced back in the day, and it almost took over the world because it like attached to it like all these faces and stuff, and like of the Justice League, and it was just like, but they had to like diminish its power because it's like it literally was just walking around everywhere. But I like the character, like the idea of it too and stuff, like the whole thing where it like takes over people. I thought that was cool.
You're basically zombies,
right? But the ending was a little formulaic, which there was stuff about this that was kind of like that, but it was also like different to a degree where I was like, okay, this is kind of interesting, but then it was like, yeah, the end was just like, ugh. What'd you think about like Polka Dot? Like, man, like, for some reason in the trailers and stuff, they made it seem like one of his superpowers or whatever was that like he saw his mom everywhere, but
Oh, really?
it was never like explained why he saw her everywhere. Like if that was just like a neurosis or whatever, you know, like a mental thing, because like his power is that he throws like polka dots off his body, which are like, I guess they call it like an intergalactic virus that like just eats through whatever he throws it at. But like everybody that he sees has his mom's face. So like they never really explained if that was like something that was part of his mom fucking up and like giving him these powers. I never knew that like that's what his thing was, and I don't know, they could have just added that for the thing that like he can throw polka dots that like are that powerful, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Also, like, he was like, this is bullshit because I gotta fucking expel these like twice a day or I'll die. I'm like, in the prison they had like a power restraining collar on you. Like, why don't you just wear one of those all the time? Like, what are you fucking talking about? I thought that was kind of stupid, but
when he's vomiting the polka dots, I was like, that's another really gross thing. Like,
yeah,
that is gross.
I mean, they had a lot of really like legit stuff, like in this film.
I thought it was
like,
cool. It led to like the one shot where he sees his mom as the giant monster,
yeah.
which was, didn't think I'd see that in this movie.
Like,
so that was bizarre.
She's literally Starro, and she's just throwing a fucking shit fit. I was like, huh? What'd you think of Peter Capaldi as the thinker in this? The guy with the fucking rods on his head? Like,
it didn't do much for me, to be honest.
I was just kind of like, I thought there was going to be something more with that guy, but it was just literally, he was like Dr. Frankenstein from Day of the Dead. Like, doing all this horrific shit on people. Like, he had like these...
I think that had to be like an homage to Day of the Dead, like that lab. Because it looked exactly like the one from Day of the Dead.
That's what I was thinking. I was just
it was
like...
cool.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on Cena sleeping in his tidy whities?
That was funny. You know, I do remember one other time I laughed was when when him and Idris Elba were talking about like about who was the better marksman. And he was like, "I'll just shoot smaller bullets through your bullet holes. It won't even touch the sides."
Yeah. I was like, yeah, because there was a line where like, she's like, everybody in this team is very specific set of skills, and you know, I picked them out because they're all different and they've got like unique abilities. And the first person that she like introduces to him as part of his team is John Cena, Peacemaker, which is like, he's got the exact same backstory as Idris Elba's character. And he was like, he was like, "Are you having a fucking laugh? You said each member of the team was picked for the unique abilities. He does exactly what I do. His father trained him to be an assassin since the day he was born." And I was like, oh my god. But Cena's like, "Yeah, but I do it better." And I was like, what? But that part was funny because it
can't be more accurate than perfection.
Yeah.
I'll use smaller bullets.
Yeah, it's like, is that better? Like, what? It does come up at the end, though, because, like, at the end, he shoots John Cena, and their bullets collide, and since Idris Elba's bullet is smaller, it goes through his bullet. So, even though Cena said he was going to do that, so I guess he took Cena's idea and used it.
Yeah.
So I guess, like, yeah, like, I think, like, going back to Peacemaker, like we were saying, it really depends on whether or not, like, you thought, like, a lot of the stuff landed in this movie. Because,
yeah, and that's another thing that, like, when they cut back to the people in the office, I was like, delete these scenes, man. These are horrible. And those characters are in the show, too, and I'm like, ugh.
You know what it kind of reminded me of, to a degree? Like, some of it, I think it was fine to do, like, a couple times, because they essentially showed off how people were getting sick of, like, how much of a, like, asshole Amanda Waller was. But, like, It kind of reminded me of like when they did that in that movie we watched with Johnny Knoxville and Arnold Schwarzenegger. Where like, remember the
they keep cutting back
FBI?
to the office.
Yeah, and it was
Yep.
literally like filmed in a different spot, obviously, and it's like this was just padding material.
Totally.
And I was like, I can't remember what that movie.
Yeah, like this movie's over 2 hours long. Like, cut.
Yeah.
Get rid of it.
Yeah, they really only needed.
Movie
like,
should be like 80 minutes tops.
Well, you also really only needed like one scene of that where like people were kind of like that, or even have like her leave the room and they're like,
be better with
what
none.
The fuck. Well, I mean, it would not make any sense, but okay.
Yeah.
But yeah. But yeah, like I said, it really depends on whether or not like somebody liked the film, because if they weren't a fan of like the film, this is just Suicide Squad DLC. It's like more of the exact same. So it's just focusing on Cena's character. So if you liked it, you'll probably like it. If not, you probably won't like it.
Like it anyway.
I'm like, you better not like it. So I guess we'll just kind of go through a couple things in the show here. Like we said, the intro was fucking awesome.
So good.
Trying to
I think like that's the best 2 minutes of film that we've seen since the last Boy Scout. Friday, yeah, it's a great time for football.
I mean, that definitely was like something that helped me like this.
It was so awesome.
Like the intro was like,
who did the song? Was that? It sounded like Journey or something.
Like it was Cena. He sang it. No, it's
if I can find out.
Yeah, go ahead and search here. But like we were saying, Robert Patrick plays his dad. What?
So the song was made from a modern day Norwegian glam metal band called Wigwam. It was awesome.
Yeah, it's legit.
I'll have to seek out that band.
Who is this band?
Who is that band?
So, but we've got a scene that kind of so Idris Elba in Suicide Squad is like terrified of rats, and that kind of comes back in the show because he tells Cena goes to see his dad, and he tells his dad he's pretty much trying to impress his dad because his dad like essentially like is like, you're a fucking loser, like, you know, pretty much he like hates his son, and he's like, Cena's just like, you know, damn it, like I'm trying to do the best I can. He's just like, you suck, your best isn't good enough. And but he tells,
I did like his sidekick Eagly.
Oh yeah, that was legit. Yeah, they have a part where like the eagle hugs Cena when he finally comes home. Like it puts its wings around Cena, and I was like, what the fuck is happening right now? And he's like, Dad, get a picture of this, and like his dad had already left like 5 minutes ago. Because he just hates him. He's just like, every time he looks at him, he's just like, looks at him and he's just like, he's such a pussy. He's like, you're such a pussy. And, like, he hates him and stuff. And it's like, Jesus. But like, he's afraid of rats, Idris Elba's character is. And Cena's telling his dad about this, and his dad thinks it's like the funniest thing ever. He's like cracking up about it. And then he's like, don't tell me that's the guy that shot you. And Cena's like, and he's like, you're a piece of shit. He's like, this guy that was scared of rats put you in the hospital. And he's like, fuck. It like backfires on him. Because he's essentially trying to like win his dad's affection. His dad like finds out he's like, yeah, he's a piece of shit. I did find it was kind of like sad, because I always thought that like Cena was like essentially just straight up a villain. But he, like, sees himself as, like, a superhero. And, like, everybody else is like, dude, you're fucking not. You know, you're a piece of shit. And stuff. And, like, every time people were like, that's a laugh, he's just like, fuck. At least in the first episode, it seems like he's trying to, you know what I mean, overcome that. So.
Yeah.
Couple of good lines. Back when men were real men and weren't afraid to be women. By Cena. There's also a weird scene where Cena is like in his underwear singing after having like he had sex with this lady, and he's singing and using a like massager as a microphone in her apartment. And it's like, huh? And then he jumps out of like a 5-story fucking building and like lives. So, yeah. There was also more of that like James Gunn grossness at the end of this episode where he like puts on that helmet and activates the sonic boom thing, and like all around him it creates a fallout crater and her body just gibbs. And yeah, because for some reason like the woman he has sex with turns out to be like a killer, I guess. I don't know. I didn't watch more than the first episode, but I won't even ask. I know you're not gonna watch any more of the show.
I'm out.
I'll probably watch. I might go back and watch some more at some point. I thought it was funny to, and I thought there was stuff about it that I liked. I didn't like the Office crap. Like that stuff was like anytime Cena was on screen, I was like, hell yeah, he was entertaining, and he's just got a presence about him. Like he could definitely carry this show, I feel like. But
Yep.
But as far as like the movie goes, there are good things about the movie, and there are bad things about the movie, and it really just.
Yeah, I mean, I hope we did a fair job of breaking down like what we liked and what we didn't like.
Yeah, I mean, like a lot of it was like it just kind of like, I mean, you kind of have to watch the film to like get the what's it called, the scale of it, because like for me, like these kinds of films, it's either. I mean, it's also predated on like whether or not like you would like these characters, because a lot of these films play into that very heavily, and like none of these movies really have super like deep stories, and like something that would like win any sort of award, but they do well because people are interested in the characters, because they're existing characters. Like Spider-Man or something.
Yeah, they're popcorn movies, and there's
Right.
nothing. That's not a bad thing.
Right.
They're made to be entertaining.
And it's but it's like built on the like I said, like kind of like some of it is built on the predation that like you would know some of these characters. Not always, because I mean like some of these people like people don't know, but like a like a thing like I guess it kind of not like the Marvel movies.
I can't believe Polka Dot Man is a real character.
Dude, they've
they
got,
like
there's
run out of time.
There's like a
and they're coming up with it like, oh crap.
I mean, that's like the same stuff back in the day. They would write about all kinds of crap like that. Like, remember in the Batman show, they had that Eggman, Vincent Price, that would throw rotten eggs at people. And then there was Calendar Man,
Exactly.
King Tut. Like, they had all kinds of bullshit characters that were just like, well, it's not the Riddler, it's not the Joker, it's not Penguin, it's not Catwoman.
Wasn't there like a clock man or something?
Yeah, there's a guy, a clock man, what's his name?
He just likes clocks. Okay,
Yeah.
great.
But it also depends. Like that's the thing is like sometimes they'll either take these characters and they'll like it'll be like Polka Dot Man where he is like kind of like he has like an awesome power, but he's like kind of a joke. But like then, or they'll take a character and just make him a complete joke. You know what I mean? Like I don't know, like Calendar Man or some shit. It's like.
Excellent.
It's like, wasn't he like obsessed with like stealing like egg related things? So like he would steal like a giant dinosaur egg or like.
Dude, that is. I think I've talked about this before, but that is one of the funniest things I've ever seen. Because in an episode of Batman, his plan is to like hatch a giant dinosaur egg to like defeat Batman.
Yeah.
But then when it actually hatches, Eggman becomes like terrified. And he's like, yeah.
Yeah, because it's like an actual dinosaur somehow hatches out of an egg, and he for some reason doesn't think that it would come out of the egg. It was like, what?
When it actually happens, he's like defeated.
Yeah, I always remember watching that show and being like always cracking the hell up because if they would have somebody in like this weird device that it was going around or like crushing, it would be like
every episode,
a clear
literally
dummy.
every episode.
You'd be like, okay, dude. Yeah, They're like, what the hell's gonna happen next time? And then fucking instantly he gets out of it. It's like, okay. It's like they cut it off right before he was about to escape, like in mid-escape. Do you have any other, like, things to say about this, or, like, just in general for, like, the DCEU? Does this make you excited to see the Flash movie with Michael Keaton?
No.
Does this make you not excited?
No. It's just like I said.
You're just apathetic.
I got my fill. Like, I enjoyed the first few comic book movies, and then realized that it was like it's just the same thing over and over again to me, with different characters, which is fine. But they don't. So far, they haven't given me what I'm looking for. So, but I hate to be a negative Nelly, because I think I'm in the minority here.
Usually, I'm the one that's the fucking negative person. Or am I?
Well, hopefully you can bring it back next week.
Jesus Christ. So what do you give this one for a score out of 9.95? I'm
going to go 4.95.
Sounds good. Less than average.
Yeah.
But it wasn't.
How about you?
It's not as bad as I don't know, some of the other ones we've reviewed as far as like the numbers.
Yeah.
I give this one like an 8.95. There's definitely stuff
Nice.
about it that I wasn't a fan of, but like not enough to make me, like this is definitely not, like I almost gave it a 7.95, but like there are enough things about it that I liked that I thought was funny, but like there are definitely stuff that is, like the cons, like the Harley Quinn stuff was unabashedly shit, in my opinion. I don't know why. Like it's a character that shouldn't be that way, but it was just annoying.
It's funny because she was the only redeeming quality of the first movie, I thought.
Oh, no, I completely agree. I thought she was the only part of the first movie that was any good. But in this film, it was like she was the only part of the movie that didn't work for me for whatever reason, which is shocking. Well, besides, like, the things we already discussed. But I think overall, like, I mean, I'm not, like, really somebody that's, like, a huge, like, I can't wait to see every comic book movie that comes out kind of thing, person. But like, I give them a chance and stuff. It just depends. I'll let them stand on their own merit and stuff. I would like to see, like, I don't know, like some more, like, I don't know, like I have to give this movie props for, like, I mean they didn't give a fuck, and they like killed people, and they like hurt people. It's like the shit was like unabashedly like R-rated, and
yeah, like Peter Jackson would be proud of like the level of gore and violence in this movie.
And it's not like these movies have to have that, but like it would be nice if there was some sort of like, I mean I understand for the Marvel movies they essentially just make those like on a conveyor belt and are just kind of like, these are to get people into the theaters, and when we kill somebody in one of those movies, like, we do not want there to be a ton of gore because, they're going to die off screen, and, like, this is a family-friendly thing. But, like, it would be nice if, like, they did, like, a Dark Justice League or something like that. So, we'll see. Not like I'm, like, an advocate now for fucking super gritty shit to come out, but, be nice to see something a little different. So, yeah. Anything else to say about this film? Or, yeah.
Apologize to Protocaster.
I apologize. I'm like, oh, well, it's okay, man. You shouldn't have to apologize. It's your opinion.
You're right.
I
don't apologize for nothing.
You don't apologize for nothing, so you apologize for something.
Everything.
I think I was a little shocked that you, like, started off like being like, I fucking hated this, or not hated it, but like, where like I was not a fan at all, so I was kind of a little shocked, but yeah,
sorry.
No, you're fine. Like I said, I mean, like, you liked Yellowstone, and I, like, after the first episode found there to be no reason to ever watch that show again, but not because it was bad. It just, whereas this show, like, I could see watching it more. But that's the thing, too, is, like, a lot of things with, like, weird watches, it's, like, it's gonna have to be something fucking mind-blowing for me to, like, not like to fit it into my schedule of like watching these movies and like watching other things I'm already watching. So, but I guess what do you next week we've got like the double. It's the double Matt week. Or I guess the Matt week. Since we started this is the first time we've had one of our picks for the movie and the weird watches line up. So
double buddy pick.
Yep. So what weird watches are we going to be watching next week?
We're going to watch the pilot to the Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures TV series.
Oh, nice.
From 1992.
Okay.
Have you ever seen that?
I have not.
I didn't even know it existed.
I've heard plenty of stuff about it, but
really?
I've never watched it.
Now's the time.
Yeah, now's the place.
It's on YouTube.
Oh, shit. Nice. I won't have to... I don't even know if there's a DVD of it. Probably not.
I don't know if it made it past the pilot, to be honest. We'll find out.
We'll find out.
I know nothing about
it. I know nothing about it.
I don't know if it ever aired.
You're like, I don't even know if it existed. I'm like, what? So what is your movie then?
So I'm going to pick. We've done a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie before.
I'm going to pick. Yes.
We're going to do another Jean-Claude. But, more importantly, we're going to do a Scott Adkins movie.
Okay.
Universal Soldier, Day of Reckoning.
Jesus Christ.
Probably the greatest action movie of this century, in my opinion.
Okay. Interesting.
It's a sequel to the Universal Soldier franchise, but you don't need to have seen the original, and the original is kind of lame, and this movie is amazing.
What was that one movie with Kurt Russell? Or was it just called Soldier?
Soldier.
Yeah, where he's just like he's doing the what's it called? The fucking Jack O'Neill from Stargate, where he's just like stone faced the whole movie. I'm like, okay, dude.
Yeah.
Okay, Universal Soldier and Bill and Ted TV show. So yeah, that'll be next week. It'll depend on we'll be doing it either Thursday or Saturday. It just depends on whether or not the Bengals do their thing. So do you have any other things to say?
I think we got another perfect podcast in the books. Well, what I could tell.
True.
Like no mistakes.
Yeah, it was
100% perfection.
Yeah, I was just like, yeah, I agree. I mean, we did the double Cena duty on this one, so
yeah,
the C Nation would be proud because, as they say, you can't see me. My time is now. Okay. Well,
cool, man.
Yeah.
Until next time, bye.